UFC Fight Night. Cannonier, Rodrigues. Welcome, everybody. Andy and Jim here from Winning in the Shadows. Happy to break down all these fights. You guys know what to do. Hit the like button, leave a comment. We're going to give you a code word here in just a second. But if you have not joined the Discord channel, you're watching this for the first time, make sure you join the Discord channel. Tons of great sports and bettors that are giving out free plays in there. It's if you're like us and you take your bankroll very serious like a business, this Discord channel is for you. There's no nonsense. You're not going to log in and see 5,000 comments in a day. You're going to see a few, and it's people posting really good, solid plays. And I'll be 100% honest. I follow some of the plays that people put in Discord. I trust them enough at this point. So it's a great Discord channel. So make sure you're doing that. And if you have not liked and subscribed to the Winning in the Shadows YouTube channel, please do that. We're small. We're just getting started. It really helps us out, and you get notified with all the videos. So go ahead and do that. UFC Fight Night, Cannonier, Rodrigues, Jim and Andy here to break down all the fights here. Jim, let's just do a quick recap. We were 1-3 last week, but we turned a profit, and man, we hit the big one. Walk us through to give us a little recap about last week. There was good and there was some bad. We don't want to all brag about the one. We had some big misses.
No, it was all bad going into the main card. We were reeling going into the totals were just totally off. We were absolutely dead wrong. I thought myself it was going to be a very violent night, and it turned out to be a decision fest. That's just what it turned out to be. And it's weird because you can almost see these nights coming as they unfold. You get the quick finish in the first fight, and by the third fight, you say out loud, we say it on the show, like, are they all going to a decision? And sure as well, we end up with two finishes.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was a bad pay-per-view.
And we were on the unders in this one, and those just did not work out.
Yeah, so Crute finds a way to go to the distance with Bellato. Wild. That was the shocker to me. The big regret is not doing something with the under for Tafa. Betting against the Tafa, that was a regret that we didn't end up hitting. But me and Andy, a couple other guys out there, but we were just sitting on an island having a Corona with Wei Lee. And boy, did that fight play out exactly like we thought it was going to. So that felt damn good. And we end up turning a profit to save the night. So.
Yeah, listen, we always want to have a winning record, but I've been in this business long enough to know you got to hit your 5% plays. Like, yeah. I know, sadly, I know people put way more on the 5%. So it's been great for us. We're 3-0 this year in UFC 5% plays. So I know when people buy our plays, they're putting way more on the 5%. So it's always good to come across that. But I think the biggest takeaway from that was not only did we win, but it did play out like we thought. Sometimes you'll win a bet in UFC and you're like, it's a lucky knockout and something like that. I'm not buying Tatiana Suarez as a title contender moving forward. That was her shot. I don't see it again for
her. I've never been less worried about a takedown in the first round than when she took down Wei Lee. It's exactly what we thought. She'll get one. And then we saw Wei Lee just stifle the wrestling. So we can now say that Wei Lee is the best wrestler in the division because she was to begin with.
Yeah. Her advancement since the Rose fights have been pretty amazing. So, all right, let's get into this, guys. Hit the like button, leave a comment, tell us your best bet. We love reading the best bets and who you guys are on. Try and be respectful if you disagree with us. I said try and be respectful if you disagree with us. If you do not have a hot take on this card and you just want to help us out, leave a comment. The code word tonight is island because that's where we were on last week. So, all right, let's get into UFC Fight Night. Julia Avila and Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Jim, I will let you go first. What's your take on this fight?
I really only have to watch and look at one thing in this fight, and that is Julia Avila's age. That's it. Okay. That's all I need. That's it. She is a middle-of-the-road fighter. Yes, she's a great striker, but the age thing is just an issue in this division. It's an issue in every division, but women's fights especially. There's an older women's fighter on the card. We're going to touch on it a little bit. That could be the exception to the rule. But where's the advancement in Julia's game? She is the identical fighter that she started off as. So she got to MMA. She got to the UFC late in her career. Cavalcanti's on her way up. I think this is, one of those two ships passing in the night. Avila hits hard. She does have volume. She is game. But Cavalcanti's got the youth. She's going to have the reach. And she's on a hell of a run. I know there's splits, and I know we can get worried about splits, but winning is winning. I'll bring up Drickus again. Always wanted to fade him. Ugly as hell. Just out decisions Sean Strickland. Out volumes him. So, guys and girls that just win, it doesn't matter if you like them or not. They got to be part of your betting repertoire. So, give me Cavalcanti by decision.
Yeah, it's a pretty big line. I said on Takedown Live on Saturday, I was like, Cavalcanti minus 440. Wow. And then I looked at tape and I was like, that's might be short. Yeah,
she's sitting 700 now.
Dude, oof. She got mollywopped by Miesha Tate. I mean, she just did. She got taken down at will. And while that's not Cavalcanti's game, like you said, Cavalcanti's got the youth. I just think she's going to have better movement. I think she's going to have better, look at this who's who of Avila's fought. It's really strange.
It's not good.
Tate, I mean, the joke that, they
Stoliarenko's horrible.
Yeah, she's terrible.
Horrible.
Sarah Eubanks. I haven't heard a Eubanks reference in forever. Now we're back to 2020. Gina Mazzani. She's fought 4 times in the last 4 years. So I
believe all 4 of those women are out of the UFC. I don't know if she's planning on fighting again, but 2 of them are retired and one of them's out of the UFC.
Yeah, the other thing is I think Josie Nunez and Nora Cornell beat Avila at this point, and Cavalcanti's gone toe-to-toe and won the split decisions on those. So it's Cavalcanti, but it's got to be a parlay piece, or you just take it by decision. So Valter Walker, DonTale Mays. It's not the fight we wanted. It's the fight we needed. Who do you like in this one?
Everybody hates Valter Walker. People just love to talk on this guy like he did anything wrong. What did Valter Walker do to upset everybody? That he got is it because he got his shot because of his brother? I know he's not good. We know Valter Walker is not good. But here's what we saw in Valter Walker's last fight. The dude came in with a body transformation. Looked a million times better. So that at least tells me that he is committing to a career. He's not committing to being a bottom of the barrel heavyweight. So, yeah, the skill set's not great. The striking's bad. We really don't know what the cardio is with his new body. I was really hoping that Tafa fight would have went a little bit longer so we could see if that cardio and that wrestling is going to come to the front. I believe it's purely based off the wrestling, is that he realized that he needs cardio, and I think he learned that in the Bresky fight. He gassed out even though he was having success in the fight. So what does he do? He comes back trimmer. He takes Tafa down. He gets a submission. Tafa says he didn't tap, blah, 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 blah. But he still got the W. Explain to me what DonTale Mays has shown you as far as being a committed fighter. He looks, again, the same. He has never once in his career taken a step up in skill gap. He's just the same fighter. So a strong breeze can take this guy down. I think we're going to see Walker get Mays to the ground. And if he can keep him there, he's going to win the fight. Now, if we see that he can't hold down Mays, you better have your finger on that live button because we don't know what Walker's cardio is going to be in 2 and 3. Okay. We know that Mays can go 3 rounds. Not a hard 3, but he can go 3. So I would pick Valter Walker from the jump. I think he's going to take Mays down. We're probably looking at a ugly decision. But if he can get back up, Walker's going to be in trouble on the feet.
Here's my worry. It's the one where I have, because you're right. Valter Walker should be able to take DonTale Mays down and just lay on him. He should be able to do that because that's what Gaziev did. UFC is not messing around with getting rid of these boring fighters. There could be a scenario where Valter Walker is like, I'm going to show off my striking and I'm going to show UFC that I am more than just a wrestler. And if he does, I think it's not going to go well for him. But I also don't think DonTale Mays is good enough to knock him out at this point. So I think it could be where Walker tries to strike and then is just like, you know what, forget this. I'm just going to go to the wrestling. Because you're right, DonTale Mays, he just can't get up.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me there. he gets taken down, and then he's just there. That's just it. It's over for the round. So Walker, I think, is going to figure that out and probably do that. He just needs to be active on the ground. But I am terrified that we get a Carl Williams situation, that we get a who was the Asian guy that was just like, I'm going to show off my striking and take my first loss in the UFC.
Nakamura, right?
Yeah,
Yunya Nakamura.
Yeah,
Mhm.
We've seen it a few times.
Yep.
That's my one worry with this one. So
Mhm.
it's Walker by decision, but it is not a big wager. Like, actually, it's no wager for me. The only reason I'm giving a prediction is because we're recording a video on this one. That's about it. So, all right, Vince Morales and Elijah Smith. We had Elijah Smith on Contender Series. Went back and looked at the notes that we took. Actually, I want to come to you first because Elijah Smith has a good pedigree, great camp. I think he's going to come in really prepared, but we noticed he's got some holes in his game. So I'm interested. What's your take on Elijah Smith and Vince Morales?
I came away from the Elijah Smith fight actually impressed. Like, I know we have holes, but that kid went through the fire in that fight. He went through a roller coaster of ups and downs and ups and downs. I mean, puts an absolute working on the kid he was fighting, the Samoa kid, in the first round. And you saw him worked through the cardio issues, work through, oh God, this guy's not going away. Like, and you know, his father, Gilbert, in the corner, absolutely fantastic coaching in that fight. Way to adapt and change your game plan and say, look, this kid's not going away. We got to be smart here. In the third round, he does what he has to do to win the fight. So I was really impressed with the maturity of him. Now, is he going to have holes in his game? Of course he is, right? But what's with all this talk about Vince Morales like he was unjustifiably cut from the UFC? I know he's a veteran, and these Contender Series guys have not looked great, but I've really never been impressed with Vince Morales. I've been fooled by him way too many times. The guy is very easily hit, first of all, which is a massive hole. You guys know I don't like betting on fighters with bad defense. I just don't. And this guy has bad defense. He's susceptible to leg kicks. He's susceptible to a lead hand jab. And Elijah Smith is going to have a huge physicality advantage as far as speed and movement in this fight. I think that he can touch up Morales and get himself to a decision in this fight. I don't see a finish coming. I think he's going to be quick enough to avoid Morales for the first round. And I think the damage is going to pile up on Morales' face, which is going to make this a pretty even fight in the second and third. I would be a little worried in the second and third if we see the same thing from Smith again. That's what made me not bet it. I want to see Smith one more time. I don't have any money on this fight. If I'm picking a side, I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid on Elijah Smith and say he wins by decision and gets a really nice debut win over a veteran in Morales.
Well, this is not going to be any fight that Jim bets money on, and I'm not going to bet money on, but I'll take the other side on Vince Morales. I kind of like Vince Morales to squeak it out. We've seen these Contender Series guys just bring it. They're just brought in too early. What's up with Cody Steele and Cody Steele? Horrific coaching. Even McAuliffe in his win.
Yeah,
just like no game plan. It just a couple things worked because Kevin Joussette's game plan was even more worse than that. And these Contender Series guys are not having good success. I put Elijah Smith in a different category because of his dad. And one of the notes that I made is, you know, on Contender Series, you can listen to the coaching. Like, you can hear the coaching and you can see it in between rounds. He's getting the best coaching.
Yes.
And one of the notes that I made is there is no way on God's green earth that Gilbert Smith would have let Cody Steele fight the way he did on Saturday. There is no chance, based on what we watched Gilbert Smith do with his son. If you put him in Cody Steele's corner, he's going to be like, you are not standing there and going toe to toe with this guy. Your arms are half his length and you are a dominant wrestler. What are you doing? So I think Elijah Smith's going to have a pretty good game plan. I like the experience here from Morales. And I will say this, like, Miles Johns, legit veteran, Jonathan Martinez, who we bet on, Chris Gutierrez, Benito Lopez, that doesn't look good, but Yadong Song, like, these are some pretty big fighters that he lost to. He comes back, and I went back and watched the Taylor Lapilus fight. Morales is going to have the cardio advantage. Morales had enough cardio in the third round to really go toe to toe with Lapilus in kind of a no-win situation that he was in. And I like he got a takedown late in the third against Lapilus, like picked him up and took him down. I think he can handle Smith's takedown on the feet. I think it's pretty close. And I'm going to fade these Contender Series guys, even though it terrifies me that I think Elijah Smith. And the other thing, Elijah Smith grew up in the industry. Dad, like he's been around. I don't think the lights are going to be too bright for him. I don't think he's going to freeze. But at plus damn near 200, I'll take a little sprinkle on Morales. So this is good. Jim and I will go a little bit fun head to head, but this is not dominant. Like, oh, we're planting our flag down on these plays. But this would be an interesting one.
I'm excited for this fight to learn about Smith. I want to see if he takes the next step.
Both of these guys, we can learn a lot about both. But like one of these guys is going to come out going, okay, he's got a future in UFC, and the other one we're going to be like, oh, that wasn't that great. So, all right, guys, what do we have up at Wager Talk? Well, we got our 5% UFC best bet. I mean, seriously, we're 3-0. We're number one at Wager Talk, 3-0 on the 5% plays. So,
what else do you need?
Yeah, what else do you need? Yeah, so if you're interested in other sports, which you should be, we're up 145 units in the last year. We're number one the last 2 years, over 200 units. In that, we've got darts plays that are up on Thursday, but you can get a 30-day special. This is discounted immediately down to $8 per day. This is now that football's over. It's like, well, what sports do we need to bet on? Well, we'll show you. Darts, NASCAR, golf, NBA, NHL, lacrosse is up. We got our first women's lacrosse bet on the same night that we're recording this. So this is our bread and butter, guys. This is what we do. This is where we take advantage of MMA and all these fringe sports. That's where the books leave the absolute softest lines out. All the books are now focusing on college basketball. Why? Because that's where all the bettors are going. And it just leaves all of the beautiful lines and soft lines and great sports that we can take advantage of. We're on a plus 40 unit run in the last 3 weeks, Jim, and across all sports. So that's what we do. That's what our niche is. Like there's a big thing going on Twitter I've seen where they're asking handicappers like, well, what's your advantage? What's your advantage? Our advantage is we take advantage of the sports that nobody else is dealing with. That's our advantage. So if you want to build your
big secret.
Yeah, if you want to build your bankroll, we've been doing it for years. Encourage everyone to take advantage of that. So 30 days, less than $8 a day. If you just want the MMA play, go ahead and grab that. But if you're interested in long-term, that's really what we recommend. It gives you a really good sense of how we bet. You get to see our write-ups over a long period of time. So take advantage of that over at wagertalk.com. People have brought up or asked, like, what is our record? I've not done a good job of updating that since January 1st. 139 wins, 108 losses, plus 10.84 units. We got off to a terrible start.
Yeah,
the first 2 weeks of January. It was awful. Like it really, really was. So the fact that we are up plus 10 units doesn't sound like a lot. I am extremely happy with the work we've been doing in some of these sports to get up there. So this week's record, 5-2. We already brought in plus 9.5 units. Corman, smoke, tennis, and soccer. All those plays are included in that 30-day package. And 2025 MMA record 7-6 plus 12 units. Those are the power of those 5% plays coming through. All right, let's get back to the fights here. Gabriel Bonfim and Chaos Williams, the first of the Bonfims. How do you see this one going down?
Tough fight. I don't understand anything about Chaos Williams. I don't think I've picked a Chaos Williams fight right since his debut fight. So take that with a grain of salt when I'm talking about this fight. Full disclosure, full transparency. I am horrible on Chaos Williams. He's got a real estate company. You want to say it's the side hustle theory, but he wins. And then you have Bonfims. Are they good? We don't know. There's so much we don't know in this fight. Is Chaos focused? Is Chaos's low output going to be enough to beat Bonfim? Is Bonfim's cardio going to hold up? Bonfim has a huge advantage on the ground. Is he even going to try to get there? This fight just screams red flag and stay away. I would want to say that the Bonfims are making improvement because I do believe they are talented fighters. And Chaos just kind of seems like a muscly, wrestle power boxer that doesn't really wrestle and doesn't have a dominant ground game. He's this intimidating force, but then we've seen fights where he just pitter patters from the outside for 15 minutes. So no bet for me on this. I will pick Bonfim because of the upside. I don't think we're going to see massive improvements from Chaos, but that cardio of Bonfim scares me. And his willingness to exchange scares me too against a power puncher like Chaos.
I won't harp on this fight too much because from a betting perspective, it's just really, really hard, and this is a betting show. I'll have some fun here. Can I poke holes in the last 6 fights of Chaos?
Oh, it's Swiss cheese. Go for it.
I mean, Carlson Harris is, we said it on the show, Carlson Harris is one of the worst strikers I've ever seen. And what happens? Chaos, 30 seconds into the fight, is like, this guy's striking is non-existent. I'm going to kill him. He does. Bedoya takes the fight on short notice.
Bad luck.
Makes his UFC debut, and Chaos almost loses that one. Loses a split to Randy Brown. Okay, it takes you 3 rounds of knockout. You go to decision against Sommersberger, then you lose a decision to Pereira. Now, that being said, how can you fault a guy for winning 4 out of 5 fights in the UFC? This is UFC. Winning's not easy. So that's why I'm conflicted with this fight. I'm with you. I don't know what to expect from Gabriel Bonfim. So if anything, if there's any play, I just think it's probably dog or pass. Because if Bonfim starts to gas, if Chaos can keep this on the feet, I think Chaos can win rounds 2 and 3. I wish he would throw more volume, but if Chaos can survive the early chaos, no pun intended there, from Gabriel Bonfim, I think round 2 is going to be really close. And if he gets to round 3, I like Chaos because I don't think the cardio is there for Bonfim. It's not a bet, but maybe a live line. Actually, probably a great
live line. Yeah.
Live line there because Chaos is the underdog already. So if he survives round 1, but you see Bonfim starting to fade, yeah, it's probably Chaos. But pre-fight, nah, nothing here. Rafael Estevam and Jesus Aguilera, my guy, Jesus Aguilera, who is just scrappy. I correctly predicted that he would give Stuart Nickel trouble. I didn't know he would choke him out in the first round, but that was kind of a little pat on the back for me here. I'm interested in your thoughts. Do you have any strong takes on this fight?
Oh, I got a strong take on this fight. This fight is going the distance.
There you go.
I'd love this fight to go the distance. Love this fight. You're going to see with me. I'm not really high on sides on this card. I think this is a low-level card. This is an epitome of an Apex card after a pay-per-view, for sure. The physical limitations of Aguilar. He has so much to overcome, and he does it quite well. He does. But at some point, it's going to catch up to him. He is short with stumpy arms. And we talked about this with a bunch of fighters. You're just at such a disability. If you can't touch your opponent, he's going to have a huge reach and height disadvantage. So I think Estevam can outpoint him to a decision here. That being said, your boy Aguilar is an animal. He will get the most
dog,
out of
man. He is got that dog in
He
him.
will get the absolute most out of his body and his skill set in every single fight, and you can count on him. What do we always say about Mexican fighters? Take the fight to go the distance because they're next to impossible to finish. So I think we're getting a lot of
tyrant and arm bar. Okay,
yeah. So what? So what? Exactly. And his finishes kind of came out of left field. I don't see him finishing Estevam. I think he can stay safe for 3 rounds. I think this is a great fight, an exciting fight, and we get 3 rounds of it. So I'm excited for this fight. Take this fight to go the distance. That's my pick.
Yeah, Estevam, we haven't seen him in a while. November of 2023. So, creeping up on a year and a half. But, I watched that Charles Johnson fight. Couldn't get the finish at the end of the 3rd round. He was tired. Johnson was landing on him. There's no chance. Estevam at minus 310 is insane.
Nope.
You're just not doing against Aguilar. So 3 straight fights that he's won. And yeah, he by fit. Now, Shannon Ross, probably need to eliminate that one because everyone knocks out Shannon Ross. But
we love you, Shannon. We miss you.
He did what he was. Yeah, we do. He did what he was supposed to do. So I think Estevam should have the better takedown. I think he should have the better ground game. Just don't be surprised if Aguilar wiggles out of some stuff. Just is scrappy, and that's the kind of stuff you can't take into the lines. I like your play on this fight to go the distance because I watched Estevam not be able to finish Charles Johnson, and I watched him get tired. So I think if Estevam is going to get the finish, it's going to be early. Aguilar's live for the choke, man. His guillotine's no joke, but you're right. He's just got to overcome so much. So it's a pass for me, but if you're playing anything, yeah, it's probably over.
Over 2.5. What would don't look? What would you line the fight at? Over 2.5.
I would. These guys, I would say minus 120.
Minus 115. Good guess.
Oh God, it's like I've been doing this for a minute.
I like that number.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Late notice. Mashrabjon Ruziboev takes on Jared Gordon. I barely found a few things on this on Ruziboev, and he's horrific despite his record. You want to talk about like some fascinating. I mean, first off,
look at that body type.
That's
a YMCA treadmill body right there.
That's Muhammad Yahya. Yep. That's a lot of wins, but you're talking about beating a guy in the Open Fighting Championships 35. I heard fights. I heard the 1 through 34 were great. 8 and 9 guy. Open 32. He's a big favorite. 2011, 12 and 17. I've only been able to see some highlights on this one. Jared Gordon is a big favorite. I'm probably not getting the window because there's just too much uncertainty with this one, but it's Gordon or nothing. What do you think?
Ruziboev is going to do what he did, do what he does, and he's going to swing wild. UFC called your short notice replacement.
What do you always do, Jim?
Fight. You take the call, you say yes.
You say yes.
Doesn't matter what you have planned. I don't care if you're getting married in 3 days. You'd say yes. Okay. You postpone the wedding.
Remember Sarah Alpar did that?
Yeah, she did. She's like, nope, sorry, honey.
Broke her nose, broke bloody nose 2 weeks before her wedding.
Yep, they had to move that, I'm sure. We got to get those wedding pictures have to be online. I'm sure they are. It's got to be somewhere.
Big mess.
It's great. Missing teeth. So, look, I think he's going to throw. He's going to go for it. Then it's going to open up the wrestling for Jared. It's just going to open it up. This is night and day skill gap wise. Would you say that the chin concerns for Jared Gordon are gone?
That the what?
The chin concerns. There was a while there where everybody was very worried about his chin. So was I. I think he's kind of proved that he can hold up, right?
No, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's fine. He went the distance against Hakparas, Nazrat. I can never say the guy's. He knocks out the old Mark Madsen, who was pretty much done. You get the no contest, the Paddy Pimblett fight, which legendarily everyone thinks he won. I'm not too worried about it. Because from what I've seen of Ruziboev, it's not going to be that hard to stay out of the way of the wild strikes. And basically, you got to do it for a minute and a half. And then Gordon is just going to be way more technical. So I'm kind of talking myself into liking Jared Gordon at this point.
I like Gordon. I do.
More and more.
I think it's parlayable at minus 300. Jared Gordon by submission is going to be something I'm going to look at. Because I have a feeling Ruziboev is going to be tired as hell at the end of round 1 if this fight's still going.
Okay. All right.
So we'll see when those props come out. But
all right. Well, you made a reference to an older female fighter, and I'm sure you're talking about Angela Hill, 40 years old, against Ketlen Souza. Line is pretty damn close to a pick'em. Angela Hill was a favorite a little bit earlier this week, but that's kind of flipped. What do you think?
How long can Angela keep it up for? How long can she keep it up for? It is super impressive. You have like the Hall of Fame fighters, but like I hope that 20 years from now, even if Angela Hill doesn't make it into the Hall of Fame, we still are talking about Angela Hill's career, because it is damn impressive. It is damn impressive to be competitive and not fall off a cliff at 36, 37, 38. Now she's at 40, still competing. But she has her limitations, which she's always had.
Can I cut you off?
Go right ahead.
Can you believe Angela Hill's fought Tisha Pennington, Amanda Lemos, and Chandaroba?
Yeah. She's been around forever, man.
Oh
She's
my
fought
gosh.
everybody.
Who else? Who else has she fought?
I wonder how many rematches she has on her record.
Cyprus lost in shot. I mean, you're right, man. It's been Nina Nunez, Marina Morales, Courtney Casey.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's outlasted all of them, man.
Yeah,
she's
really
been around. And I think a lot of it has to do with her point style. It's a very damage adverse style. So it's high volume, it's high cardio, and she's going to put volume on her opponents. The problem in today's MMA is I don't know if that's a good thing when you have somebody across the cage from you that's going to be able to land bigger shots and get, what do I always say? The oohs and ahs of the crowd. Whether it lands or not, if it gets an ooh and it gets an ah, the judges score it. That's all that matters is entertainment. So Souza gets the knockout over Yaregi, who I think now we can pretty much completely not trust her chin. So I'm very confused personally.
It goes down as a choke, but it was
she smoked her with that punch.
It was a shot, yeah, that she
Smoked
jumped
her.
So that's why it says rear naked choke. But
yeah, that's a knockout. She beats Mardik, man. Not impressed. Losing to Karine Silva gets her knee shredded. I will say, we talk about injuries. I don't see the injury hangover for her. Like she doesn't look like she's favoring that at all. I think she's 100% back from that. So I just kind of throw the injury out and not worried about it. I do think that Souza can make this fight difficult for Angela Hill. And the problem is when it goes to the judges, Angela Hill is just always on the damn wrong side. And I think a lot of the moments are going to be had by Souza. And it's going to be a bad look for Angela Hill going to the judges. 29-28, split decision for Ketlen Souza.
I'm with you. I like Souza in this one. She's got the age. And you're right. You know, Karine Silva, this is what Karine Silva does. Like she's one that's on the up and up, like coming up. I know this goes to decision. She beat the shit out of Mardik, man. She just did. I went back and watched that. That was a domination. And then, great finish. I got to tell you, I know that her fight with Mardik Man was in April 2024. That was the coming back from the knee issue.
Mm-hmm.
Her jump and how good she looked. And I know that the Yaregi fight only lasted a couple minutes. Immediately off the bat, you knew like, oh, she's made big time improvements or she feels more comfortable. I don't know. I think it's going to be too much for Angela Hill. We've made no bones about it. One of my favorite things to do right now is fade these older fighters who are at the end. Jim, you've said, we have a turning over. Like this is like the
it's turnover year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm always going to side with the younger fighter who I think is going to, and Angela Hill, she looked great against Denise Gomez, and then Pinheiro gave up.
Pinheiro's horrible. Okay. Let's call a spade a spade.
She's horrible and she gave up. And so what happens? Angela Hill gets an up in competition, and Ricci kind of puts it on her with her energy and, just like her pressure. And I think that's what Souza does here. I think Angela Hill is going to be a formidable opponent, but in the end, Souza's just going to be a little too much. I think she gets two. And at this price, I think it's fantastic. Like this falls into the fade the older fighter theory, and that's kind of where I'm at on that one. Jose Delgado versus Connor Matthews. Jim, where did you land at on this one?
I landed off of this fight. I can't pick a side in this fight. I know I'm hemming and hawing, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to tell you to put your money where you shouldn't. Too many variables in this. I do like Connor Matthews as a fighter. I think this is going to be a tough fight against Delgado. I would expect one of these guys to look really dominant. I can't tell you which one it is to save my life. I went back and looked at film, and I see holes in both sides. I'm going to pick Connor Matthews for the sake of picking Connor Matthews because I like his style more. I think he's a little bit more well-rounded than Delgado. I liked what I saw from him in his last fight. against Bazookia. The fact that he got a finish in round 3. Oh, I'm sorry, he got finished in round 3. I don't. Was he tired? Would you say?
No, he leaves his chin too open and he just
Yeah.
gets hit. That's all.
So like he leaves his chin open. I don't know if Delgado's the guy to take advantage of it. I'm just iffy on both of these guys. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with the guys that Delgado's fighting. I think this is a dangerous fight, and I want my money nowhere near it. So I'm going to say Connor Matthews bounces back if he can keep his chin tucked.
Well, you're gonna laugh at our notes from Contender Series. This is what we wrote
Oh, this
down.
should be good.
So Delgado is coming off a Contender Series win, but his opponent was terrible. Not sure he's that good. Striking didn't look super crisp, and while he got some takedowns night of Contender Series, and is that he will get beat if he gets a veteran or a decent fighter. Lucky for him, he's getting neither. So he's
like
getting
that's the problem, right? You can't fade a fighter, and this is a mistake a lot of people make. Is I got to fade this guy. Well, you can't fade him against somebody who's also you're going to fade. You can't.
Yeah,
like the Rosenstrike Pavlovich fight for me. It played out as a horrible fight. They're two fade fighters.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I'm gonna take Delgado in this one because I think Connor Matthews is just way too limited. Delgado's raw, but I got to tell you, man, I like the hunger in him.
Okay.
I thought he pushed the pace, and while he's not as crisp and not as polished as we would like, maybe he's made some improvements. I like that he was as aggressive as he was. He went for broke, and you get a decent camp or you get some decent coaches behind you, and they go, we're just going to tweak this. We're going to tweak this, and we're going to tweak this. I think Connor Matthews may be a little bit of a finished project. I'm sorry. You lose to Francis Marshall. That has not aged good at all. I had high hopes on Francis Marshall, and this is not. So he loses to Francis Marshall, goes out, gets another fight, and then beats Farias, who hasn't fought since then. He's had some fights canceled. Dude, getting knocked out by Bazookia is a bad look. Like, if you don't remember Bazookia, he got his absolute brains kicked in by Sean Woodson. It didn't get finished, but he was a mess. Then he gets knocked out immediately, and then he somehow wins against Connor Matthews, and then he loses to Francis Marshall. So this is not a good fighter. I'll take Delgado. It's minus 210. Not sure I feel great about that one. But Connor Matthews is everything I've seen of Connor Matthews is just there's levels of this game, and sadly, you're just not there on that level.
What do you think about the total?
Under.
Okay.
Under.
Yes. See, I would even go opposite there. You stick with Andy's breakdown on this fight. He sounds like he's got this one better than me. Forget what I said.
All right, Rodolfo Vieira and Andre Petroski. Where do you stand on this one?
Let's talk about the New England cartel.
New England cartel. Okay.
These guys are just fades, man. They're fades. The New England cartel. Oh, no, that was the main event. Henzo Gracie Philly. I get them confused because they're both.
Yeah,
they really
I knew where you were going with it, but
they're like the same gym. they turn out the same result from two different parts of the country. These guys just don't make improvements. It's infuriating to watch fight after fight of the same mistakes and the same bad cardio and bad strikes and bad wrestling and just bad. Petroski's not a great fighter. And, you know, the other thing about Petroski is when push comes to shove, I just don't know if he has it. Like we talk about Jesus Aguilar. He's got it. He's got it. You know he's got fight. I don't know if we have that with him. He's going up against Rodolfo, who, in my opinion, has made fantastic improvements, going from a pure grappler to now being able to hang with strikers and implement his game. When he gets you to the ground, I don't care what your wrestling and grappling credentials are, unless you're Fluffy Hernandez in the second and third round.
Yeah,
he's going to submit you. You do not want to go to the ground. Going 3 rounds with Chris Curtis, mainly on the feet, pretty darn impressive from a jiu-jitsu guy. So I like Rodolfo in this spot. Any chance I have to fade a fighter out of Henzo Philly, And New England Cartel, I will continue to do so until the next crop of fighters comes out of that gym and I can assess where they are, because I just don't think these guys are built for this. I don't think they're the best.
Petroski's coming off of 2 wins. One is against Dylan Budka, who I think may be one of the worst fighters in the UFC. We'll get to him in the next fight. He just took Budka down and laid on him. There was no damage. There was no striking. It was nothing. He did the same stuff against Josh Fremd. What do these guys have in common? Well, they're either not in the UFC or they're not going to be in the UFC. What happens? This weird fight against Jacob Malkoun where he shoots in, he knocks himself out on Jacob Malkoun's waist, whatever. He gets obliterated by Pereira, like obliterated. Goes to split against Mearshart because they grapple F each other. And okay, you beat Wellington Turman. Look at who he's beating, man. Wellington Turman, like Josh Fremd, Dylan Budka. I'm not impressed. I think I'll give him that he's a one-trick pony. He can take weak fighters down. But after that, I don't think he's that great. I don't think his control is that complicated. It's, when you're going up against terrible fighters, when you're going up against this guy, you're not holding this guy down, I don't think. So
he wants to be on his back. Like,
I think that's what's the nightmare matchup for Petroski. Like, oh, you're going to try and take me down? By all means. I thought this win against Petrosian, because we were on Petrosian, and boy, did he make us. There were quotes about where he was like, well, I'm not that interested in fighting. It doesn't excite me anymore. And then he comes out and mollywops Petrosian. Like, no messing around on the feet. Gonna get you down. I'm gonna choke you out. Gets the thing against Brundage. And they have this weird fight against Chris Curtis where he shoots 20 takedowns and he doesn't get any of them. It was like the Chris Curtis, like, amazing takedown defense. I think he kind of learned his lesson against Chris Curtis, where a lot of those takedowns were pretty weak. I don't think he's going to do that against Petroski. I think if you're going to stand on the feet with Petroski, there's nothing coming back at you that you're worried about. I think you can be patient. Like you said, once this goes to the ground, it's Vieira. It's Vieira all day long. So I agree with you that I think it's Rodolfo. And yeah, you want to get cute? Yeah, go ahead and throw Rodolfo by sub. That's how he wins. So.
Oh, yeah, inside the distance on him. If he wins this fight, it's going to be inside the distance. I actually think he's got an advantage in the striking. He's shown a really nice jab.
Petroski has no advantage. Maybe the takedown. But again, that's the problem. If you take Dylan Budka down, great. If you take Vieira down, now all of a sudden you're in his world. So, all right, the next Bonfim, Ismael Bonfim and Nazim Sadykhov. Interesting fight, in my opinion. What do you think?
This is another Bonfim. Like, God, I can't figure these guys out. I do believe that Sadykhov is very good. Very good. This is a much higher level matchup than the other Bonfim fight, for sure. Again, do we trust these Bonfims to take the next step? I it's not enough sample size for me to say these guys are title challengers. Like, I just can't do it. A win over Vince Pichel, I can't get behind. Okay, just not going to happen. A win against Terrence McKinney, not going to happen. I just can't get there on these wins to say that's the guy I want to put my money on. I think Sadykhov is good, man. I think he's good. I think he's got a chance in this fight. I love the fact that he has just been selective on his fights. It looks to me like this is a very, very selective game plan by him and his corner of who they're going to take and who they're not going to take. And where I saw right here, we had a canceled bout against Chris Duncan. I think he kills Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's not that good. The draw against Borshev is a bad look, but we're going back 2 years now. Okay. The Slava that we saw this past weekend was way worse than that Slava. Okay. Again, we have a Terrence McKinney sighting. What happens? Terrence McKinney gets finished. The win against Evan Elder. We like Evan Elder. We think Evan Elder is a good fighter. He's got some. So to me, that's a quality win. I know it's a doctor stoppage, but that was a good fight. I know Elder was winning. It was a tough fight with Elder. I just can't back the Bonfims at their prices. I just absolutely can't. So this is going to be a no bet for me. If I would be looking anywhere, I'd be looking at the over in this. I think both of them can stay safe enough to not get finished by the other one. I think we could see a very, very tightly contested matchup. Good way to kick off the main card. Great fight to kick off the main card.
I have much more confidence in this Bonfim in this fight than you do. So I'll go to Bonfim. Nice performance on Contender Series. Both of them have beaten Terrence McKinney. This version of Saint Denis was a little different. I mean, he just got murdered. I like that he went the distance. Okay, I thought that showed that they were like, you need 3 rounds in the UFC. You need to control your striking, and he did. That was Pichel's not a spring chicken by any stretch, but I thought that was one of those where they were like, you're going to go out, you're going to just get 3 rounds of striking in. You're going to work on your cardio. I know you've had decisions on Contender Series and LFA, but this is a different world. So go out there and get your striking in. Let me poke some holes in Sadykhov. This is me poking the bear. All right. You kind of glossed over some with Evan Elder. This man was down 2-0 and he got a cut and the doctor stopped. He was losing 2-0. It's a good fight. Borshishev. Okay. Why was this a draw? So this is a draw because Borshishev wins rounds 1 and 3. But in round 2, he drops Borshishev and gets a questionable 10-8. A questionable 10-8. Jim, I have seen 10 rounds since then that way worse than this that were not 10-8s. How they came to the decision on that 10-8. And by the way, not all the judges did. It was only 2 judges. He needed 2 judges to give him 10-8 to get the draw. Otherwise, that goes down as a loss. So, I mean, he was getting ready to fight Markel Medeiros. Come on, give me a break. And you're right. This level of competition's been. I think UFC saw it. It was like, okay, Evan Elder, you were losing. Terrence McKinney, whatever. Questionable draw against Borshev. We're going to give you Chris Duncan. Canceled. We're going to give you Markel Medeiros. This seems like a big step up. Remember how last week we were like, how does Suarez go from Amanda Lemos to Jandiroba?
Yes.
Here's a title shot.
That's a good point. Yeah, this is kind of like the same kind of run here.
Yeah, how did you increase your level of competition without actually fighting? So I'm in on this Bonfim. I think his fighting style is a little bit more mature. I think it's a little bit more controlled. I think he gets the better of Sadykhov. That being said, he's too juiced. I can't bet him. I can't put him in parlays or anything like that. So sadly, it's just a not play. It's a not play for me. So
it's a tough card this week.
Yeah, you got to
don't overexpose yourselves on this card.
Yeah, tough spots. You just pick your spots. Here's a spot. This is no secret that we think Dylan Budka is terrible, and in my opinion, this is the last chance we will get to bet against Dylan Budka in the UFC. So, Jim, I'll let you go first.
Dylan Budka is terrible. And this is the last chance we're going to get to bet against him in the UFC. We don't really need a technical breakdown on this. This guy is bad, man. He's bad. Hey, props for being there. Good luck. Your skill level is just not on par. This is, God's sakes, we have to get Edmen a win. This is what it is.
Oh, so you're going for we got to get Edmen?
Yes. 1,000%. We need to get Edmen a win. He cannot have 2 wins out of his last 5. We cannot have this happen. Who do we give him? I know. Dylan Budka's still on the roster. Perfect. Let's see. How did Edmen win last time? Got out-wrestled. Is Dylan Budka going to wrestle him and out-wrestle him? Probably not. Okay? He got the veteran and Gerald Mearshart. The A.J. Dobson fight. That was really telling to me that they gave A.J. Dobson and Edmen a matchup because I didn't think they were in on A.J. Dobson at all. So that was another spot where it's like, I mean, look at his wins. Look who they're giving him after he gets beat down. They're giving him Dalcha
Yeah.
AJ Dobson, he gets
Yeah.
beat down again, and now they're giving him Dylan Budka. They want to keep this kid around. Keep in mind he is young, and we have seen some improvements, at least in the cardio. The grappling knowledge is still not there, but I don't see Dylan Budka being the one that is going to press the wrestling of Edmen. Edmen should get this fight done and out of here in a round and a half max. Edmen by knockout. There's my pick.
Yeah. So I'll start with Shahbazyan. So we all know the Shahbazyan thing. If he doesn't get you out of there quick, he gets exhausted and he tires. But I'm going to go back to, this guy in 2001, he's fighting Imavov.
They threw this kid to the wolves. So
he's fighting
Hermanson way too soon.
So Imavov and Hermanson, both those guys, their last two fights were main events, and they both won.
Yeah.
That's okay. Now you go back to Derek Brunson, who 2020, that's actually legit Derek Brunson.
Yeah.
And before that, Brad Tavares. So who did he lose to? Fluffy Hernandez. So he's losing to Fluffy Hernandez, Imavov, Jack Hermanson. It's a win against Dalka and JG Dobson. Make no mistake about it. This man was 2 seconds away from KOing Gerald Meerschaert.
Yep.
He destroyed Meerschaert in the first, knocks him down in the second, and any other ref on the face of the planet would have stopped that fight. And Edmen is not fighting Dylan Budka. He's fighting somebody else. He was landing whatever. The ref could have yelled a million times at Meerschaert, defend yourself, defend yourself. And so I know the narrative is Shahbazyan gassed himself. You go back and watch that. I can't blame him for gassing himself. He's
gassed himself throwing 70 ground strikes?
He was it was insane. So I invite you to go back and watch that and go, well, I really blame Shahbazyan for gassing out. Like what more do you need to see for knockout? All right, so let's go back to Dylan Budka. So I'll go back to why he's in the UFC. He fights Chad Hanekom in what Dana says is the worst fight on Contender Series. And then he blames Chad. And he says, Chad, it's your fault. What we didn't know was that Chad was on a cocaine bender in Vegas, tested positive for all that stuff. And so he was 9-2 then. Now he's 10-3. Hope Chad gets the win about a year later. So hope Chad, we see him again.
We're going to see him again at Contender. That's a storyline Dana loves.
It has to be.
That's great Dana White. TV.
It's perfect. We also need to see the guy that bit the guy in the UFC.
Yes.
That guy's going to make it. Yeah. Who loves a redemption story? All right. So Dana gives Dylan a shot in UFC because he's like, it's Chad's fault that the fight was boring. Maybe Dylan Budka had a lot to do with that fight being boring. He goes up against Cesar Almeida, who's a kickboxer. He grabs a hold of Cesar Almeida in the first round, grabs a hold of him, and does not let go. Does no damage whatsoever. Takes him down, but Cesar Almeida, the kickboxer, is able to get up. And then in the second round, he tries it again. Cesar Almeida says, no, thank you, and blasts him with elbows and knocks him out. Then they give him Petroski. Petroski takes him up and sets him down like a sack of potatoes and lays on him. Even Petroski didn't even do any damage. Budka, no resistance to the takedowns, no ability to get up. He's just awful. I'm with you that this is Shahbazyan. This is a get-right fight. He's exciting, but I do think he's going to manage his cardio a little bit. And here's the other thing. Dylan Budka doesn't have any cardio. So even if Shahbazyan gasses, this ain't the guy to take advantage of it. So it's Shahbazyan probably by finish. I'm with you. Calvin Kattar, Youssel Zalal. All right, Jim, where do you stand on this one? I feel like this is the really pop. If the world had a chance at the Parlay Buster segment of our video, which we're going to get to, I feel like the world would be on Calvin Kattar because it seems like the really popular pick. Where do you stand on it?
I was originally going to be on Calvin Kattar in this spot and just thinking look, at some point you got to play the law of averages and you're just due for a loss. You don't want to blindly just fade a guy, like I said, with a bad fighter because they're due for a loss. But I was going to be on Kattar. I think this is definitely going to be a tough test for Zalal. However, we just talked about this last week. These major knee injuries with fighters later on in their careers. Look, it was the Arnold Allen fight, right?
Yeah. It was bad. It was really bad.
Just blows his knee out. It sucked to see because God, that was on its way to being a great fight too. It just was horrible to see. Comes back against Aljamain Sterling and just another horrible fight. Horrible fight. Aljamain does what he does, backpacks him. I have a feeling that this knee is not going to get any better. Not at Kattar's age. This is way different than, like we were saying earlier, with a young Souza coming back from a knee injury. This is an older fighter. And you want to talk about damaging miles? Let's talk about Calvin Kattar.
Yeah.
He goes up against Jeremy Stevens. Both guys are pouring blood. He fights Dan Ige. Both guys are pouring blood. He fights Max Holloway. Both guys are pouring blood. He fights Giga. What a damaging fight. I mean, great win. He beats up Giga, but Giga got his offense going in that fight. Josh Emmett, who we know hits like a Mack truck, that goes to decision with 3 rounds of just headshots, man. The damage is starting to catch up. I think it's caught up. After this knee injury, not only were we already worried about that, how committed could he be? This is setting up really nicely for a Zalal win. And if Zalal decides to wrestle, he is going to have a huge advantage on Kattar in this fight. We've seen Zalal come back to the UFC and lean on this wrestling and lean on it hard. Look at his last 4 fights. Choke, 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 choke. You don't get that from standing and trading. You get it from running your grappling. Okay? So if he decides to wrestle in this could look like a very, very easy 30-27 for Zalal on the spot. It does worry me that everybody's on him, but sometimes you got to go with everybody. I just don't see how Calvin Kattar comes back and wins this fight after all the damage.
I'm with you. I wasn't that high on Zalal when he came back, and he's proven me wrong. He's done exactly what he's supposed to do, which is this was an injured Billy Q, and he dominated in his return. Did what he was supposed to do. Gets the finish against Aarons, who we were kind of like, oh, maybe Aarons has got a little something working. No, Zalal's like, no. And then Jack Shore retires right after this one, and that's a little curious that Jack Shore, a 17-1 fighter, like loses 3 out of 4 and just retires. So did he retire because he realized he didn't have it when guys like Brito and Zalal are finishing him? Of course, the Brito loss is still crazy. I've never seen a cut on the shin.
Yeah, Tatiana Suarez was lucky they let that fight go.
Yeah, her cut she had on the knee. So I think one of the things that when we look at somebody like Zalal, he's 28. Look who he lost to in UFC. Topuria, Zoe Choi, Sean Woodson by split. What if this is like he was in UFC too early and they gave him too big a step ups? Because I got to be honest, he doesn't come in there like the bitter guy that got cut and I got a point to prove. He comes in like a guy like, I know I'm good. I know I should be here. Now I'm just going to go out and prove it. And I'm with you, man. I think the ground game from Kattar is going to be non-existent. And I don't think Zalal is going to waste too much time being in the striking. And you know me, love fading these guys with these knee injuries. So Kattar's I think the popular pick, but don't be surprised if this kind of looks a little bit similar to the Sterling fight where Zalal gets him down and just, holds him there. So, all right, main event, last fight of the night. Again, guys, hit the like button, leave us a comment. Tell us who you like in any of these fights. Give us your best bet. But, Jim, let's go to the main event. Jared Cannonier, Gregory Rodrigues, and right after this, we're going to do our Parlay Busters and our woulda, coulda, shoulda picks. Who do you like in the main event?
Well, we're going to talk about another fighter who is up in age, rehabbing injuries that he has later in his career, and Jared Cannonier. We're 40 years old, folks. 40 years old, and it ain't 40-year-old at heavyweight. Okay? This is middleweight 40. Jared Cannonier has one of the more inspiring careers of what he was able to do, transforming his body from an out-of-shape heavyweight to a title contender. And he has fought the who's who throughout his career. But he's 40 years old. and he's fought the who's who out of his career. This is adding up. It's adding up, and you're starting to see it in his fights. You're just starting to see it slow down. You can't go 5 rounds on the feet with Kaio and get worked. I mean, I thought Kaio handled that fight immensely. The Imavov finish, we have to take into account the body language of Cannonier. It was like, oh, early stoppage. Cannonier was out on his feet. If they let that fight go, you just saw what happens when you let a fight go against Imavov. He knocked Izzy face down onto the canvas with that follow-up shot. I think that was a good stoppage by the referee to not let a 39-year-old fighter take a devastating knockout in the 4th round of getting beat down. Okay.
Yeah.
I just can't see him at this age being able to stop the juggernaut that is Gregory Rodrigues. Gregory Rodrigues, with one of the most deceiving losses on any record that you will ever see. Bruno Ferreira, counter left. Stop calling it a counter. It was a jab.
It wasn't a
Literally
counter
jab.
left. It was a jab. Yeah.
Rodrigues came in and he touched him on the chin, and all of a sudden Rodrigues is on the ground. And we were all in shock by that. What does Bruno Ferreira follow that fight up with? It's not good.
No, he loses to Ruziboev. He knocks out Phil Hawes, sadly. Sadly, shout out to Phil Hawes. And
who everybody knocks out.
And then, I mean,
how do you lose?
Defend this. Defend
exactly. A boost submission. Okay. Submitted by a kickboxer. Beautiful. Oh, look, he's fighting. Oh, we got an upcoming fight for him.
Oh. Oh my God.
We'll talk about that one later. So it's threw everybody off the Gregory Rodrigues train. It just really did. Like, everybody was so worried about his chin. What does he do? Goes back to the wrestling. Goes back to the wrestling against Tululin. That's what everybody wanted to see. He admitted it as well. He said, look, I fell in love with my hands. I am way too good of a grappler to go out there and just swing heavies with people. His mouth, not mine.
Yeah.
His mouth. Ever since then, that eye-opening loss, he's looked like a real complete fighter. He's young. He's on the rise. I think this is Gregory Rodrigues. I would not be surprised to see him finish Cannonier in this inside of 3. I mean, the firepower that Gregory Rodrigues has on the feet, on the ground, brings you so much finishing upside. I think this is Rodrigues all day. And like you said, we'll continue to fade these old fighters. Just have to.
Yeah, I'm just going to continue doing it. Like you said, man, like you lost. So he gets knocked out by Imavov, and then I don't know what this thing is where he takes a fight a couple months later, but all I know is I watched Caio Borralho, a career wrestler and grappler, outstrike him for 5 rounds on the feet. Outstrike him. Caio Borralho has shown no striking, like no fights that he won to strike with, and he outstruck Cannonier. And when's his last time that he had a finish? It was against Derek Brunson. So if you're like, well, I'm worried about the chin of Rodrigues, this isn't your guy. This is a 40-year-old guy that doesn't knock people out anymore. The cardio from Rodrigues is a concern. Is Cannonier the guy to push it? I don't know. I will tell you, plus money is on the over 2.5, which I like. I think Rodrigues is not going to blow his gas tank in the first round or the second round. If he clocks him, maybe, but he gets knocked out by Imavov, but you gotta go back to Dominic Reyes in 2018 before Cannonier gets actually knocked out. So I wonder if we see a controlled attack from Rodrigues to be like, all right, let's make sure we manage our cardio. Let's make sure we don't go, too hard, too early. So I kind of like the over, but I think it's Rodrigues. I'm just sticking to my guns, fading these older fighters. It's worked so far. I will just stick to it unless it's a really horrible matchup, and I don't think this is a really horrible matchup. So,
agreed.
All right, Parlay Buster. These are the fights we think everybody's going to parlay. And we're here to tell you we're a little bit worried. So this is a really tough card for this one. Do you have a...
Yeah, can I go first this week?
Yeah, please, by all means.
All right. I'm going Gabriel Bonfim.
Gabriel Bonfim.
Yes.
Okay.
Why? Because what's going to be the most popular parlay this week?
The Bonfim.
The Bonfim parlay. Here it
Okay.
comes. Let me take both Bonfims. Gabriel Bonfim is my parlay buster. I am not going to trust him yet. He's got to show it to me.
Okay. Fair. I'm gonna go to Elijah Smith. These Contender Series guys haven't done well. I like everything about Elijah Smith, but I think he's too raw. And you got Vince Morales, who has way too much experience. I think his cardio is going to be better in the third, so I'll go with Elijah Smith as the parlay buster. All right, the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Darn it, why didn't we lay the house on it? Some of us laid the house on my lay last week. So what's your woulda, coulda, shoulda here? What's the fight we're going to regret not going crazy on?
You're going to laugh at me for this one. I'm going to go the other Bonfim because it's a personal thing for me. I can't bet him. And when he goes out there and he smokes Sadykhov, who I believe is going to show up a good showing, I'm going to say, why did you have to have doubts on the good Bonfim, Jim? Why did you have to have doubts? Why didn't you listen to Andy? I have to see it with the Bonfims, and that's going to be my woulda, coulda, shoulda. So I'll stick with both Bonfims. I gave you the whole board to work with now.
Wow. Okay. I can't say Cavalcanti because she's way too juiced. I'm going to go with Ketlen Souza. Anytime we get a chance to fade a 40-year-old fighter who she had 2 wins over Gomes and a Pinheiro that gave up and then gets kind of worked over by Ricci. Now she's fighting a younger fighter that I think can do the same thing. And we looking at back going, God, we could have had that. Could have had her even money, -110. Dang it. Now Angela Hill's just exhausted in the third, and Souza's walking forward and raising her hands at the end of the round. So that's going to be my woulda, coulda, shoulda. So
like it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks so much for joining us. Leave us a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, get notified when we release all these videos. And don't forget, we got our 5% UFC best bet. That is up. We're only 3-0. We're only 3-0 on all of our 5% plays. Number 1 at Wager Talk, plus 12 units. So make sure you jump on board. We've been building bankrolls for a long, long time. We can help you with yours as well. Good luck on your plays, and we'll see everyone later.
See you Saturday.